All right, guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we are going to put a clutch in this yard sale 350X. Just one of those things, you know, we got to give Honda credit. It got me through the National Forest, and then it come home and it just let go. So we'll take that as a win. And you know, anytime you get back home, that's always a win. So what we've got here is I've just started draining the oil. Probably going to put this on a time lapse. You've seen me do clutches before. If you haven't, then you know, take notes. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to try not to have to take as little bit apart as possible. When you take your oil filter apart, try not to take the lines apart if you don't have to. Some exhaust kind of force you to. But if you can keep your lines together, that'll save you from wear and tear on your O-rings there. They do tend to leak, and they do tend to leak bad when they leak. It's not one of those things that's going to kind of go away. It's not going to fix itself. And those are metric O-rings, like everything on the machine is metric. A lot of parts houses don't even realize that there's a difference between metric and standard O-rings. They just think, well, you know, it's a round O-ring, it's the same, but it's not. And so I'm just kind of letting the oil change, or excuse me, the oil drip here before we put the machine up on its side. That's the best way to do it, because the clutch is completely let go and just wore out. I mean, you could still ride it, but if you gave it any real gas, you could feel the clutches spin. All that clutch material is in the oil. So tipping it up on its side, you are keeping the bad oil in there, and you don't want that. So I'm taking the time to let it drain fully before we pull the case off of it and before I tip it up on its side. That said, about, you know, working ahead, go ahead when you get your clutches and take your friction material and go ahead and let it be soaking. Now, you know, some guys are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. A lot of people will soak their clutch disc in transmission fluid. It seems kind of counterintuitive to me that if it's going to be submerged in this oil, why not soak it in this oil? To soak it in some other material or some other fluid and then put it in a bath that's going to live in this the rest of its life, it just doesn't, you know, you know, to each his own. Let's say that. So got that soaking. I'm putting the towel over here. You know, dirt or trash gets in that. A couple other things we're going to be doing oil wise. We're going to be using the Rotella T6 here. Here's the thing. We'll touch on it real quick. Make sure your oil on the back has JASOMA/MA2. If it's got that, then it passes the Japanese standard and it's good for wet clutches. So you're set there. We're going to probably look into putting a sprocket on. Not sure. This is a 14 tooth. We'll see. We've got a master cylinder from Maddie. We've used their products before. You've seen it before. It's good. It's not the best. It's not OE, but it will work. The clutch kit that I'm using is an actual kit. It actually comes with, and this is, I do like this. It comes with new heavy duty springs. It comes with new steels. Now, not all of your clutch kits are going to come with steels. If you're going to do it, it's like $8 more to get a kit that has the steels. I recommend getting the steels. So we're going to get steels. We're going to put new clutch friction material. We got some springs. It comes with a sticker. If you're interested, there'll be a link in the description below. We're also going to put brake shoes, brake pads on the 350X. They're a little light, and it's just good maintenance, and it's why you've got the machine in the shop and up on the lift. It doesn't hurt. So that's it. That's kind of what we're going to do. And just kind of take it in stages. We are going to straighten the bent fork that's on this machine. Won't be in this video, it'll be in the next video. But I've made some other changes to it. I have swapped over the Super Trap exhaust, and I've also swapped over the 400EX carburetor. So the next time I go riding with my buddy, maybe he won't walk off and leave me so bad. So we'll see. As always, carburetors, fork boots, just, I mean, all kinds of stuff. Y'all need to go to 223cycles.net. Check out the website. Curtie does an amazing job over there. He will gladly take care of you in all of your three-wheeler needs.
The night has come. It's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no
Just that easy. It really, you know, it's 10 minutes or so. You know, I'm gonna let this drip overnight. Like I said, I want my clutch plates to soak overnight. It's a good opportunity to kind of inspect the inside of your machine. You don't get that opportunity very often. Looking at these clutch plates, I gotta tell you, I'm not sure why they weren't hooking up. They actually look good. Now here, this is concerning. The original steels that were taken out, they're burned. See how they're hot? They got hot and they got discolored. So I didn't notice any warping or anything like that. But I'm surprised at these clutches. I really am. I don't know why they acted that way. And the other thing is these springs are huge. I don't know. I want to compare them to the ones in the kit. So this is what was in there, which is not factory, by the way. This is what comes in the kit. Now look at the height difference. I can try to show you this with my fingers. To get my little fingers out of the way. See the height difference in those two springs? This is a brand new spring, never used. Heavy duty kit, supposedly. I don't know where these came from. I'm gonna do some research on it. I don't know if that could have been a problem. Maybe you would have thought that it wouldn't. That would have made the opposite problem. Just squeezing them, you know, with your hand. They're a little softer, actually. I can squeeze them more than I can squeeze these in the kit. That's a lot more effort, and I can't squeeze them at all. So maybe that's where the problem is. Maybe they may be physically bigger, but maybe they're not as strong. I don't know. This is one of those situations where you tear into something, and I was expecting to find clutch plates that were smooth, and that's not what we found. So we're gonna move forward at this point. There's no turning back now. So we're gonna go ahead and put the clutch kit in it. I'm sure that'll take care of it. It was not making any noise. It was just not pulling. And so clearly a sign of a slipping clutch. You could engage the clutch, it would take off. But as you really got onto it, you know, half throttle and up, the machine would get louder, but it wouldn't go any faster. So classic sign of a slipping clutch. right, guys, welcome back to the shop. Let's see, so I just took her for a little test drive there, and that definitely is a lot better. She wants to pull up in third now, which before she would just get loud and not really go anywhere. So here's the verdict on the clutch. Really took my time in taking this one apart. Once I saw that these plates, these discs were actually not worn, I really, you know, kind of had to step back. I was not expecting that. The steels being, see how they're brown, they're discolored. They should be silver all the time, but these have been burned. All these little edges, that's dried oil, that's cooked oil. This disc has been slipping and got really hot. You know, probably that day out in the National Forest was just burning the clutch all day. Maybe that's, you know, maybe it was slipping in the higher gears, and that's what was causing me to lose top end as much as I was. I didn't feel it though, so you know, it happens. I think this is the culprit. I do not recognize these springs. They are taller than factory. They are softer than factory. You can't take a new heavy duty spring and compress it that far. I'm not even left-handed. I'm not really putting that much attention on it. I think these are just bad springs. I think maybe this kit, whoever put this in, someone's been in there before. This is not OE. Maybe this kit is just, I don't know, inferior. I don't know, but the springs let go. Because the clutch plates look fine and the getting hot is because these springs were weak, pushing these clutch back together. So that's why the clutch was slipping. So now we're going to move on, and the next thing we're going to tackle is brakes. But before we do that, I do want to show you one other thing. Now, when I first got this machine, and this is kind of, if you go back to buying a machine or testing your machine out, your clutch, when I bought this machine, you would pull the clutch in, and then to start moving, you would come almost all the way out, and now the vehicle would start moving, and then that last little bit this is all the clutch you really had. Okay, that's what the slop out of the cable, that's all that the engagement you had was that last little bit. I kept the original cable. I have a cable for it, but I wanted to test my theory out. I've put a new clutch in it. Now when I pull the lever in, as soon as I come off of here, I'm moving. And I'm moving, and I'm fully engaged there. So if you get on a machine that's not yours possibly, or you know, if you're looking at a machine and you get on it and the clutch is not sloppy, and this clutch is not sloppy, I can't move it. There's no, you know, play in the cable here. But if you pull your clutch in and you let it and it goes way out before it starts to moving the vehicle, whatever it is, your clutch is going out. And so I kind of just wanted to make sure I was remembering that correctly. And that's always good to know. It's something real easy. You can hop on somebody else's machine or a machine you're fixing to buy. And if that clutch engagement is right off from closed, then you're good. But if it goes way out here before you start moving and then engages, your clutch is going out. Just food for thought. All right, brakes. So we got two issues on this one. This master cylinder gets stuck. It gets right here and it gets really hard to bring in. And so on the little test ride a few minutes ago, that's the way it was. It was really hard. Once it brakes and starts moving, it works, but just to get it going, it kind of like it gets stove up in there. So we're going to do two things. We're going to replace the master cylinder with another one. Brake pads on the front. It wouldn't hurt. I'm going to keep this one. This is not going anywhere, so I'm going to go ahead and go through it like I do most of my machines. I always say I'm going to keep them all. I don't, but I still like to go through them. That way I know that they're right. So what we've got in the line of brake shoes, we've got fronts and rears. All right, so this is our replacement master cylinder. It looks almost exactly the same. Really, could be exactly the same. We've got our inspection window for what our fluid level is here in the front, which that's handy. It's nice to be on the back side. The OEs was on the back side. It was easy to look from the riding position, but it's not that difficult to look as you walk out to the machine. This is important. The output here needs to be on the front because it keeps this hose going across the top of the front of the machine, as opposed to if the output is on the side, and a lot of them are, that forces your cable to come out or come down. Either way, it's not what you're used to seeing. So I paid close attention to that. Now we probably will, if possible, we'll see if we can swap the lever over. I'd like to have matching silver levers. It's not a deal breaker. These, you know, it's going to feel about the same. Boy, those look like the same master cylinders. Okay, so let's get started. We're gonna pull this, we're gonna drain our fluid out. We've got new brake fluid to put in these, and we've got new front and rear brake pads. We've got the rears, and we've got some fronts.
The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation.
All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up quick. We have had a major storm today and tornadoes. Actually, we get a little bit of everything in Florida. Today we had tornadoes. Lucky for us, no damage, really just kind of on the outskirts. Been out in the shop, you saw the lights flicker a little bit probably. There's no point doing any audio. I've come back out after the rain now to film this. It's so loud out here that I just turned the radio up a little bit louder. So here's what we ended up with. We went ahead and did front brakes. They did not look terrible, but they're old, you know, and I think probably the master cylinder was the bigger issue. We've changed the master cylinder out. These are our old brake shoes here. Plenty of life left in them, but it's kind of one of those things, that's a job. To remove the front tire just to remove the brake pads is kind of a backwards way of doing it. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's the way they did it. If you're going to do brakes, I mean, for just a few dollars, you might as well put rears on. We did that. These are culprit clutch springs. You know, definitely was the problem on that. I feel real confident in that repair that these were the issue. I have never seen springs that I could compress like that by hand. They're just way too soft. These clutch discs, you know, you could probably put them in another machine, but there again, you know, there's those jobs, you know, the why you're in there kind of jobs. You're talking about dumping all your oil and your oil filter and possibly, you know, new oil. And so there you go. That's $20-$30 right there. By the time you do that, do you really want to put used clutch disc in? No, you really don't. You want to go ahead and put new clutch disc in. And I'm going to slow the video down in editing. The biggest takeaway from doing a clutch or anything on that right side cover is to pull that screen out. Check that screen and clean that screen. We've had 3 350Xs in that, and 2 of them, those screens were just full of debris. And that's just a funny way of saying debris. I met a lady one time, and she said, she was talking to me, and she was like, there was debris everywhere. And it was one of those conversations, you know, respectful. I wasn't going to interrupt her and ask her what she meant by debris. And so we finished the conversation, and I had to think about it a little bit. Debris. She was saying debris. It wasn't clicking. Anyways, that screen is what protects your pump, and your pump is, of course, what oils the top of your engine. 350X especially, you need to be sure and have plenty of oil in there, and that screen has got to be clean. If nothing else, as a biannual service, go in that right side cover and check that screen. That's going to give you the best idea of how well your engine is running. If that's full of trash and shavings and RTV and anything else, that's where it's going to get caught first, hopefully. And that's why that screen's there. So always check that screen. It's very important. I know it's kind of a pain to get to, but when you're in there, you might as well do a clutch. You know, you might as well look at some other things that you may need to address. That's really, really a good service on the yard sale 350X. Next, we're going to pull the forks off of here. I know I'm going to be working backwards, but in order to finish this video up, I'm not quite ready to pull the forks yet. So we'll rip it around the track a few more times before we do that. But next up for that machine is going to be straightening the forks. I want to pull the Kawasaki back out soon enough. That's an upcoming project. I've got some more work for it. But thank y'all for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this. You know, pretty straightforward. This is just mechanics. There's really no magic to it. It's just, you know, taking things apart, changing out the wear items and putting them back together. Go slow. You saw me grease the front axle. That axle would not slide out. You couldn't just pull it out. It had started to get bound up in there with all of the dirt and debris. So I blew that out. I cleaned that axle on the wire wheel. You saw me do that on the brake pins. Very important to do. Those front pins coming out of that front caliper would not come out. We had to drive them out. You saw, that's why I had to take it off the machine. I really didn't want to. I didn't want to crack that line open, but I couldn't beat on it without putting it in the vise carefully. And so you know, you've got to clean those pins. You can hit them with a wire wheel, works really good on a drill, or you can put them up in a bench grinder like that, in a wire wheel now, not a grinder, and just clean them really, really good. And then before you put them back in there, use some anti-seize or some grease or some type of lubricant that's going to stay there for a while. Not PB Blaster, not WD-40. I'm talking about something a little thicker than that. Something's got, you know, some staying power to it. But yes, axles, those pins, those brake shoes have to be able to slide. If you've ever had brakes that clamp and then not let go, a lot of times the pad can be binding in there on those pins, and then that keeps the just dragging. And you can feel it, especially if it gets so bad. The TRX came in and the right front wheel was smoking the first time I brought it in because the brake had hung up and was just dragging. And of course it wanted to turn right a lot better than it wanted to turn left. Basic maintenance 350X, everything we did tonight would apply to your 250Rs, your 200Xs. In you know, a broader sense, any motorcycle really, you know, something with disc brakes, master cylinders, hydraulic disc brakes, they're all pretty much the same. There's a few changes here or there, but overall basic hand tools, a couple hours of your day, and you can put a clutch in just about anything. Like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank y'all for watching. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening.